Just before you all disappear, I don't know if any of you want to actually ask Darren any questions or, voice any concerns, or if you've got any ideas. I mean, I think that particular, that last point that he was talking about, having that dilemma of whether he outsources all his development or, can he bring it back here, is a really interesting one. And we got chatting over Skype about this, and it's something I'm quite passionate about. I think we should be aiming towards a situation in the Southwest where we can offer a really good service to companies such as Darren's that makes it worthwhile bringing it back here. Something that's not just about cheap service, it's about communication and creativity, and that's what we can do fantastically in the Southwest. I mean, we already have the creativity, and there's a massive amount of talent, but it's quite... perhaps it's the communication bit that we just need to improve, and the collaboration. That's something I'm going to be talking about shortly in my little workshop. But yeah, over to the floor. Would anybody like to say anything at all? You've been sat there quiet for quite a while. Any takers?
Is it the language barrier is the trouble, or is it like the daytime, the hours?
No, it's not the language, and it's not even the time difference. Sorry, can you hear me all right? It's not the language, it's not the time difference. It's that ability to all sit around a whiteboard and go, right, this is what we need to do. Let's come up with some ideas on how we can do it. And it's, when you ask a programmer to do something, you just don't want them just to do what you ask them to do. You want them to come up with ideas of how it could be done better. So don't just follow instructions, think and be proactive on how that can be improved. And that's just not possible at a distance of several hundred miles.
Do you think it's also that company not coming back with feedback the way you kind of want to work?
Well, they do to some extent, but yeah. It's very time consuming because it's done by email. We don't Skype, we don't chat on the phone or anything. It's always email. And email is a really time-consuming way of doing things, and we always have to spec things out, and it takes up a lot of our time.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with American clients, and that's a bit of a hassle because of the time difference. We always have to make it in the morning or the evening, but you can get kind of a certain amount through on a big Skype call or a conference call.
You can.
We can kind of we always give a lot of feedback to them, and they come back feedback with us. But I don't know.
If the thing is, if we come up with an idea and I'll turn to Luke and I'll go, wouldn't it be cool if we had this here? And then we have to go, okay, right, so how do we actually explain that to the Bulgarian guys? And we go, okay, right, let's start putting a Word document together and do some mock-ups and whatever. And before you know it, you spent at least an hour explaining how you just move one box from one side of the page to the other. Yeah. And it's that benefit of either, being able to ring somebody up, or have face-to-face, ideally, which is the drawback to us. It's the agility.
Yeah, I think that the fact that you're able, Mutant Labs is able to offer that service and, use the Skype is perhaps saying something of what we do have in the Southwest and what we have in the UK, that creativity and that ability to brainstorm and communicate really well. I don't know if it exists in all other cultures, and, I know each country has their own strengths, but I really believe that's a British strength, something that we do really well. Yeah. And, hopefully that's something we can promote ourselves on.
I was going to ask, when you're working with teams of developers abroad, do they have their own project manager, or are you project managing each individual? Are you working with a group, or are you literally just passing work to an individual person who then manages that out?
Generally, yeah, it's one individual who kind of manages the rest of them. So we deal with one person, and that's a plus point because you develop a relationship with that one person if you get on with them. Yeah. And they basically pass the work out to the relevant skill within their teams.
Because we've worked with various different, we've outsourced to various different places and different project managers, and it mainly boils down to that individual, whether you can communicate and build up a good relationship and rapport with that person.
I agree.
And also how accessible they are, because if you have to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning just to have a regular meeting throughout the duration of a project, it can be really limiting. Whereas if you've got somebody who is abroad but can also then come in for a conference call throughout the daytime, it does make a massive difference. Yeah. What we found anyway. But that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah.
Anyone else want to say a word? Yep, over there.
And actually, can you see that as a cost benefit by moving it back over here and having something more local?
That's what I'd like to explore. I think we probably can. We haven't looked at those costs in detail, but I would imagine so. I mean, we're going to save the time that we spend in speccing things out. So if it was double the cost, then we could probably justify it. If it was 5 times the cost, then we might not be able to. So we just need to understand what the cost difference is, really.
I'd like to think that you can actually tap into ideas that would actually make you a fortune, you know, so that it's not just the time-saving thing, but, you know, that creativity.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Or should we go for a break? I don't know if any of you have used it and started mapping out. It's the first time I've used it, but it was actually really good to plot down all my ideas. And then I thought, hey, I'll need a full day session to go through that. I can probably only talk about a few of these points in detail. And there's something actually about putting it down in writing that just made it all really boring. And I thought, ooh, it just, as soon as you put it into PowerPoint, yes, and all the passion just goes. And I thought, there is something I have that I want to share with you, something exciting. And if I can just possibly find a way of sharing that with you, then I think, you know, it'll be worthwhile. I've also got a whole load of tips and hopefully some interesting things for you to take away with you. But I thought I'd just open with this exciting thought and try and paint a picture to you of what it is that I'm talking about. It happened for me driving down the A38 after talking to Ben. Can you believe? We met up for, Ben was one of the first people that I met up with to discuss some of my ideas on how I can take my developments forward, how I can work with community. And we met up at the university and had a cuppa, and it was really good. We realised we had some shared ideas, and we just started discussing some possibilities. And I said, hey, I'm thinking of doing this seminar, you know, will you come along? That was the first Digpen. And I just went away after us talking, you know, quite excited, because something happens when you sit down with somebody, share some ideas, and you realise they've got similar ideas, and you exchange ideas, and you go away, you think about them, and you go away quite inspired. And I just knew, do you know what, this is the start of something. It's the start of something for me, but I hope it's the start of something for lots of people in this area. And the more people I've started talking to, you know, people have got very similar ideas on what we could be doing together. It's just really a question of tying together all those ideas. But I just wanted to share this exciting trip down the A38. It's very, very cheesy. I apologise for that. But I was just coming onto the A38 and it was quite cloudy, and then the sun broke and a bit of rain came out. A rainbow came down, you know, one of those inspiring moments. And I don't know if any of you know The Farm, All Together Now. Yeah, cheesy song, okay. But that's what came on. I just had this magic, fantastic feeling of community and what it is and sharing ideas. And I just felt really inspired. And I think, you know, we've all got that inside of us. You know, we've all got that exciting, inspired moment. You know, you're just driving along, you listen to some music, you see something nice, and you're just like, wow, you know, you just feel alive and you just want to share it with somebody. If we can manage to share those special, exciting, creative moments, you know, something wonderful really starts to happen. And I've experienced that over the past month or two, since I guess I've started this whole Digpen thing, just by meeting people and talking to them and getting to know them and finding out a little bit what lies below the surface, what people are really about, what are they thinking, you know, going a bit further with the questioning. And I've got to tell you, the Southwest is the most fantastic place. I've lived all over. I mean, I can't disguise I'm from Lancashire. I'll never get rid of the accent, but I've lived all over the country. Spent quite a long time in the southeast, getting some great experience. Always loved the Southwest, place for my childhood holidays, and it was just like a dream when my husband got a job down here. But there is something down here that makes it special, and it's a combination of the geography, the people, A lot of people move down here for a lifestyle change. You know, they've got ethical values. They appreciate their family. They want to spend more time with their family. And that says something about the type of people that they are. And also, I think perhaps the fact that we're surrounded by sea, you know, there's just something so creative about that. You know, if any of you have grown up here and always lived down here and never really spent much time away, you know, I challenge you to go on a fast. You know, go and live in a city centre where there's no sea and don't go near it. And live like that for a few months and work like that. It'll do you a world of good, because when you come back, you'll just really know what it is here, you know, how special it is. So I wanted to start, you know, just with that, just something from the heart. And I'll actually go through some practical things now, and hopefully things you can take away with you. But I just didn't want that message to be lost. So I split my little workshop into 4 bits. Community, what is it? Number 2, why actually bother? You know, why take the time out? We're all busy people. Number 3, I want to talk a bit about the vision that we could potentially have for the Southwest. And lastly, how potentially we could achieve that. But before all that, just a tiny little bit introduction on me, because I have met quite a lot of you, but not all of you, and you perhaps don't all know my background, my experience. So just to tell you a few things. I'm 37 years old. I have 2 children, one age 6, one age 16, can you believe? I'm married to a doctor. I started off in fashion design, actually, and I've always been a bit of an entrepreneur. Opened a clothes shop at the age of 20. Did that for 3 years. That was a bit of a childhood dream, and after 3 years realised actually that was just a childhood dream and it quite bores me. And then I went and did a H&D in software engineering. Following that, got several years experience for big companies in the southeast. But I always had the itch that one day I'll go back self-employed and I'll build some big business, whatever that might be, probably something .com. My experience with the community has grown over the years without me realising. When I had my clothes shop, like many small entrepreneurs, very strapped for cash, working with the community was a way of taking my business forward. I organised some big fashion shows, got the local universities involved, people taking photos for free. It's one of my specialties. You know, a whole load of fashion designers got involved and all the rest. It became a place of community where people would just pop into the shop and just hang out and say, hey, you know, can I put my clothes in? Can I do your window display? So we ended up getting a whole load of people working for me for nothing, actually, just by meeting people. It wasn't the intention, and I didn't realise I was building a community. But looking back, you know, that was valuable experience. And then in the southeast, after working for a few different companies, I ended up working for Toshiba and leading a large CRM project across Europe. And this was a community of many super users, developers, very large development team, in-house and out-house. With that community, perhaps everybody didn't actually want to be there. Perhaps everybody didn't want to build what we were building, but because, you know, we had to and we were building something together, we became a community. So that was all good experience. But then when I left all that, I worked on my own for, I lose track of how many years, because it's about 8 years now. I think 3 years just messing around with different internet site ideas, and then hitting on the idea for Medworm, which I work on now. And I worked, I suppose, almost in solitary confinement for years. I didn't realise how the years were slipping by. I was there at my computer. I had a fair bit of interaction online. Most of the people I was doing business with were in America. Most of my users were in America. We'd have great Skype chats, but there wasn't really any face-to-face contact. And like many developers, you know, you just get totally sucked into it from first thing in the morning till last thing at night. Living and breathing what it is you're building.